we go one, we go all for QAnon and fam. President Trump is planning on carrying out mass arrest of deep state traitors. In the last year, we've heard all about this. Trust the plan, logical thinking, follow the connections. We have it all. Sit back and enjoy this year in review of QAnon, the Great Awakening. So some of these deep state arrests include Andrew McCabe, Peter Strzok, James Comey, and even all the way up to like Barack Obama. Plenty of more. Too many names to list here, but you get the gifs. I, for one, am fully supportive of this effort to save America and arrest every last one of these traitors, try them for treason, lock them up in Gitmo, and some will get the death penalty. I mean, what else did they expect, right? Justice. The confirmation of Kavanaugh to the U.S. Supreme Court was key to getting this done in a timely manner, which explains why the deranged left is going to such outrageous extremes to fabricate false allegations against Kavanaugh and stage coordinated, well-funded protests to try to block the U.S. Senate from confirming him. Now that Kavanaugh is in the court, it will add the necessary support for constitutional emergency powers that concentrate power in the executive branch of government, currently headed by no other than President Trump, during times of war and national emergencies. Fact, the United States has been operating under a state of declared war since September 11th, 2001, following the terrorist attacks in New York and on the Pentagon and Pennsylvania. Another interesting fact, the United States has been operating under a declared national emergency signed by President Trump ever since December 21st of 2017. He signed the executive order blocking the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. There is a plan to issue mass arrest of the deep state traitors, then try them for treason under military tribunals. This is justified and lawful because the acts being committed against the United States of America by the deep state traitors are acts of treason during a time of declared war. It is no coincidence that President Trump has deliberately funded the U.S. Pentagon with its most massive budget ever conceived. This is because the Pentagon has agreed to run the military arrest of the deep state traitors under the direction of the Commander-in-Chief, or President Trump. President Trump, I believe, has decided to go to bat for America and utterly destroy the anti-American deep state crime ring that has been working for years to destroy this nation and end its national sovereignty. This will be Trump's legacy. He may not even run for re-election after 2020, since his entire plan to arrest the traitors and restore the rule of law in America will require him to step aside once certain goals are accomplished. Now, in order for Trump to accomplish this, he will need to declare temporary martial law. He will need our support during this time to maintain order and civility across the nation as the arrest and trials of the deep state traitors are underway. We should all expect mass violence and chaos from the left, which is following the rules for radicals, a blueprint for communist revolts and violent overthrow attempts of government.
Are you talking to the president? You ain't supporting shit, nigga.
Just make that hat great again and burn it right in the trash.
Courts fight in the streets.
entire Trump vote was racist and by racists?
I think, yes.
I'm not going to.
a Nazi.
I'm not a Nazi. What are you doing, man? Hey.
Blocking the property of persons involved in serious human rights abuse or corruption. This document specifically describes the crimes of Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, James Comey, Robert Mueller, under the corruption section, alluding to the Uranium One scandal and Obama's multi-billion-dollar laundering operation that handed over nuclear weapons capabilities to Iran. It says the executive order targets any foreign person determined by the Secretary of Treasury in consultation with the Secretary of State and the Attorney General to be a current or former government official or a person acting for or on behalf of such an official who is responsible for or complicit in or has directly or indirectly engaged in corruption, including the misappropriation of state assets, the exportation of private assets for personal gain, corruption related to government contracts, or the extraction of natural resources, or bribery, etc. This describes precisely what Clinton, Comey, Mueller, Obama, Brennan, McCabe, and others carried out under the Obama regime. These are more than just felony federal crimes. They are acts of treason against the United States of America. From this document, here is President Trump's declared national emergency. I therefore determine that serious human rights abuse and corruption around the world constitute an unusual and extraordinary threat to the national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States. And I hereby declare a national emergency to deal with that threat. Now, the next document we're going to go over here is Executive Order 13618, signed July 6, 2012 by President Barack Obama. Assignment of National Security and Emergency Preparedness Communications Function. This executive order grants the president absolute control over all U.S. media, including internet tech giants, social media, news networks, and news websites. It specifically names, communications that support continuity of government, federal, state, local, territorial, and tribal emergency preparedness and response communications, non-military executive branch communication systems, critical infrastructure, protection network, and non-military communications network, particularly with respect to prioritization and restoration. Now, this next document is very important. It's Executive Order 13825, signed March 1st of 2018. It's a 2018 amendments to the Manual for Courts Martial, United States, UCMJ. Although much more difficult to read, this document essentially establishes the preservation of the government's right to prosecute crimes of treason and deep state collusion against America, all of which may be prosecuted via military tribunals under existing U.S. law. This would allow deep state traitors to be arrested by military police and subjected to military trials run by the Pentagon, completely bypassing the corrupt court system, which has been deliberately stacked with complicit deep state traitors and resistance judges. For the record, I wholly support this effort to arrest and prosecute the thousands of deep state traitors who have become a cancer. Were you aware that James Comey was a communist? How about John Brennan? Of course, he's remained a communist for his whole entire adult life. And Barack Obama was a radical Muslim who despised America and worked every day to undermine it through a variety of nefarious means, including allowing U.S. military encryption technology to be captured by Iran via the U.S. drone GPS spoofing incident. For starters, Barack Obama personally authorized the illegal Spygate spying on Trump campaign officials. Barack Obama also allowed China to hack 21 million U.S. military personal records, effectively dumping the entire U.S. Pentagon database into the hands of a communist China. We'll go into a more detailed explanation later of Obama's treasonous crimes against America. So, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, John Brennan, Andrew McCabe, Loretta Lynch, Peter Strzok, and a long list of other traitors have been conspiring for years to destroy America from within and see it replaced with a communist regime run by authoritarian globalists. Tech giants like Apple, Google, and Facebook, they're all part of the plan, which is exactly why you see every one of them working closely with China to roll out an authoritarian techno-tranny infrastructure system that plans to enslave every citizen of the world, making them powerless and obedient to a global technocracy that runs the one world government. Trump's plan to rescue America from the globalists will require temporary martial law. In order to halt this global dictatorship and defend America against traitors who are working to destroy it, President Trump must carry out the following actions. He's got to achieve the release of declassified, unredacted deep state documents from within the FBI and the DOJ that will reveal to everyone the full extent of the deep state treason against America. The FBI and DOJ are currently stalling, slow playing this effort to release anything, furthering their treason against America and proving they have a lot to hide. Pelosi, Schumer, Schiff, Warner, they've all already committed acts of treason in calling on the FBI and the DOJ to defy that presidential order to release. 2. Invoke the national emergency powers, which are constitutionally granted to the executive branch of government. Technically, this has already happened back in 2017. 3. Invoke President Obama's Executive Order 13618 and seize control of Google, Facebook, CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, etc., so on, so forth, to halt all the treasonous lies, the coordinated election frauds, and the political coup, an attempt at which is being run by all these traitors of America. 4. Use all controlled communication channels to publicly declare the details of the crimes and the criminal actors which have been committed against America. Disclose everything to the American people about how their country had been overrun and destroyed from within. 5. Order military police to find and arrest thousands of the deep state traitors who have been deliberately undermining America from within. This will include hundreds of people from within inside the FBI, DOJ, plus hundreds more in the State Department and other agencies. Arrest must also include traitorous, corrupt federal judges who have been deliberately undermined and undermining America by, well, for example, blocking Trump's constitutional travel ban to protect America from enemy terrorists. Many traitors will attempt to flee the country. Of course, and they will need to be located and brought to justice like former Nazi war criminals. Round them all up, try them all for treason, and Gitmo or death penalty. That's the only option. 6. Issue an executive order demanding national voter ID for all future elections. No longer will America tolerate democracy being stolen by the votes of illegals, people who have entered this country illegally, who are granted voting rights by California and other complicit anti-America sanctuary cities and states. 7. Suspend elections during the military tribunals, but lay out a timeline for the restoration of elections and nationwide voting, with voter ID in place to restore the rule of law and give America back to the American people. 8. Deploy the U.S. military along the southern border. Use the Army Corps of Engineers to build the wall. And number 9, promise to resign the presidency once the rule of law is restored in America, signaling to the American people that Trump plans to hand over power to the next elected president within a reasonable time period. Americans will rightly be concerned about the martial law morphing into a military dictatorship. Trump needs to assure the American people that his job is to destroy the deep state, restore the rule of law, then get out of the way and retire as the greatest U.S. president in history. The president who saved America from the traitors and the communists. The American people will not tolerate a permanent military dictatorship in America, but they will tolerate temporary martial law that is needed to drain the swamp, arrest the traitors, and restore the rule of law. That's why this was put into our Constitution as a last resort. During this time, by the way, the entire FBI, CIA, DOJ, and other 3-letter alphabetic agencies will need to be disbanded and rebuilt from scratch. The agency's credibilities have been utterly destroyed by the actions of James Comey, Peter Strzok, Hillary Clinton, and others. Remember, freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it to our children in the bloodstream. It must be fought for, protected, and handed on for them to do the same. Or one day, we will spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it was once like in the United States where men were free. You and I have the courage to say to our enemies, there is a price we will not pay. There is a point beyond which they must not advance. We will preserve for our children this, the last best hope of man on earth, or we'll sentence them to take the last step into 1,000 years of darkness. Ronald Reagan. I'm Mike. This is a Patriot Hour. God bless. Godspeed to each and every one of you worldwide. Where we go one, we go all.